Wow,
Hello.
amazing. Nick Garcia, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Guardian. How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. We feel so humbled to have you on the One Student, One Book, One Author mantra, the Global Readers Circle, the podcast designed to inspire and motivate a committed reader out of every global person. We feel very humbled to have you on the talk show.
Man, it's my absolute pleasure. I really do appreciate you guys having me on, man. It's a pleasure.
Well, the podcast, like I said, is designed to leverage your authority as an author to inspire and motivate a committed reader. So we like you to tell us about you, we like you to tell us about your journey into authorhood. We like you to share some special moments about reading and the world of authorhood with us. But first, you would have to start by introducing yourself to our audience. Author Nick Garcia.
Sure, man. Yeah, my name is Nick. I am a youth leader out of New York, United States. My wife and I, we lead a fairly large youth group over there, and I've just been, like a nerd most of my life. I've always read comic books and watched anime and all that, and cartoons and all that.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
felt led to go on a journey of creating some, Christian themed manga and graphic novels and comic books and all that. And my wife's been such a support, and we've been going out and just, trying to bring God to this.
Wow. Wow, amazing, 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 amazing. Well, we like you to share with us how were you raised? Where exactly were you raised? How was growing up like for you? Was reading part of your everyday routine?
Sure. In a sense, yeah, it was part of my daily disciplines that I would do when it comes to the Bible and stuff like that. But when it came for reading for fun, I ebbed and flowed in seasons of wanting to read traditional novels, but I was always a fan, especially since high school. You know, um, early 2010s, I was a big comic book reader, and I loved reading comic books, and it was something that no one else would really connect with me on. So it was just something I did out of love for it. I would do it by myself, just sit in my room and read some comic books. And I growing up in New York is a very metropolitan area. And it's
Yeah.
not something we did. We would always, people were going outside playing ball or playing video games or whatever. But you would find me doing that
Yeah.
stuff. But you know, at the end of the day, I was always just sitting there reading comic books and stuff like that.
Wow, wow, amazing, amazing. So you said you are a youth pastor.
My wife and I lead a youth group out here.
Wow, so invariably you are a spiritual leader.
Yeah, I have a team of about a dozen, and our youth exceeds, could exceed up to 100 some days.
Wow. So invariably you've been helping your community.
Yes, I've been doing this for about almost 3 years.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So let's talk about your book. Let's talk about your book.
hmm
When did you publish this right? And who was your target audience? What problems were you willing to solve?
Sure. I really started writing and coming up with the concept of it during COVID. Actually, when the world was shut down, I was working in a warehouse. It was just me in there. Everybody else called out and said that they weren't, you know, willing to work or didn't feel like they should be working. So it was just me in the warehouse, and I just felt like I was getting a download of what this whole world should look like. And I started writing during COVID, and I published it a year later during 2021,
Yeah.
and I just put it out and said, it's it, it's out there. But during the beginning part of this year, so almost 3 years later, I really felt like um, I felt like God was telling me, like, man, it's time to go out and make sure the world gets the opportunity to read this and see this, and why I did it, why I'm pursuing it again, and why I'm picking it back up, even after all the success it had in the first place. When it launched, it hit number one. It was number one in Amazon in 4 categories, and it had bestseller status. And and I just left it there. I kind of just let it sit. And why I picked it back up is because I felt like I was saying like the world needs this. There's no like Christian really manga, which is like Japanese graphic novels in the world.
Yeah.
There's one. There's kind of one that exists, but it's a recreation of the Bible. This is the only one that's an original story that pulls from the Bible thematically, and
Wow.
and I just felt like the world needed it. As a youth leader, we get asked all the time what, since it's such a growing genre, anime, manga, that whole Japanese culture, it's such a growing genre. And
Yeah.
my wife and I we would get asked pretty frequently what we felt like were not safe, but like appropriate shows or books that people could read in that genre. And it was really becoming difficult to come up with some that were universally accepted because there are none literally that are um,
Yeah.
Christian themed. So um, I made it, and people
Wow.
liked it, and man, it's been such a journey and such an honor to do it.
Wow. 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 Amazing. Amazing. You guys did a thing. Congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's been a long journey, a hard journey, but it's a journey worth taking.
Wow. Amazing. So, what are the insights, fables, the stories, the testimonies, the lessons? What exactly are you willing to share, and who are your target audience? Aside the fact that you said it was for Christians, don't you think that
Hmm.
any person can have something to learn from your book? What's the title? How many pages? How do we find your book?
Sure. So it is called Flight Team. You can find it on my website, crossworksmedia.com. You can get it on Amazon if you type in Flight Team and then type in my name, Nicholas Garcia. It'll come up. You can type in Flight Team Chapter 1. Um, and I would recommend it for middle school to high school and up. We find a lot of 20-something-year-olds love reading this book.
Hmm.
And a lot of non-Christians could read this book because it's not overtly Christian. If you're a Christian,
Hmm.
you'll understand the symbolism of it. I don't say God, I don't say Jesus, I don't say Holy Spirit like that in there.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but if you're a Christian, you'll understand the symbolism that exists in the world, in the story. And if you're not, you'll just think you're reading a really cool like fantasy steampunk type story. So if you like fantasy, if you like steampunk artism, if you like manga, this is a perfect story for you. It is full color, 130 pages, which is
Wow.
3 times the size, if not 4 times the size of your average manga. So it
Hmm.
is a full arc, and people are really enjoying it because it's a lot of content for not a large price point.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. So, how do we get to see this book? Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. If you type in Flight Team Chapter 1, it'll come up. If you go to my website, Crossworks Media, you can get both physical and digital there. You get the digital right away. Physical, I'd ship it out to you. That's no problem.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Wow. Amazing. Well, if you're going to streaming this with Garcia, Garcia is an amazing. He's hoping that you're going to have access to build a connection and rapport through his book. Well, don't forget on the podcast notes, we are going to be adding his book link on Amazon so you can have an opportunity to look it up yourself and share testimonies with your friends. Don't forget that you become the books you read, and don't forget that you become the credible people you meet. So, Otto Garcia will be looking forward to build a rapport with you. Otto, are you there?
Yes, I am here. I'm here.
Okay, so for our audience globally, I'd like you to talk about the importance of reading. Where did you get your cross inspiration from? You should have read so much to do so much, in as much as it looks like you're a very creative person.
Yeah. So why is it important to read? People often emphasize physical health. Running at the gym, lifting weights,
Yeah.
exercising your body, and then a lot of like business people will talk about reading personal development books to grow the mind and strengthen your brain. But what a lot of people don't talk about is, and there's a lot of research on it to suggest that fantasy and fiction books expand your creativity and grow your mind's capacity to think and problem solve. So there's a lot of benefits to reading fiction and fantasy books because it increases your brain's capacity. And where did I start writing and reading to answer that question? I actually started writing from a very young age, as early as like third or fourth grade, or so. That's like probably like 8 or 9 or 10 around there. I remember the first time I wrote a creative story. It was a short story. We had to come up with a short story in the thematic stylings of Edgar Allan Poe, and I did a little poem type thing, and the teacher actually
Wow.
failed it because they thought it was plagiarized. They
Wow.
didn't believe that I was the one who actually wrote it. And then from there,
Wow.
I kind of, most people would get offended by that, but I was actually like, huh, maybe I'm like that good. I was so like, I was a little cocky back then. I was so cocky. I was like, wow, maybe I am good at this. And I always kind of just enjoyed creative writing. I'm not like a whole big talker. I don't talk a lot. All my friends will tell you that I'm pretty introverted. You know, I'll be in the room and just be there. But I'm really good at
Yes.
expressing what I'm thinking through on pen and paper. And that's the best way for me to
Wow.
express myself. So I've always been kind of a creative writer. I was the only guy that I know, or only person that I know in school that would voluntarily go into the creative writing classes because I enjoyed it so much.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So we come to the part of the show where you would have to name 10 books that would probably stay with you. 10 books that has helped you on the journey as a lifelong learner. 10 books that has been significant to for your inspiration, your motivation. 10 books that would always stay with you, like books you feel like this clicked for you. I'm sure you can take that challenge.
Sure. So a cheap short answer, which I'm not going to do you that dirty. I'll give you a list, but a cheap short answer is there are 66 books in the Bible. So there you go. But
Mhm.
to
Amazing.
give you a list of to give you a list of a few that I actually outside of that. Buzzkill by Donny Cates. It is a graphic novel series. It's my favorite graphic novel series. It's a journey about
Wow.
a man who is an addict. He's addicted to drugs and alcohol, and he wants to stop. But when he does those things, he gets superpowers. So he becomes
Mm,
like a metahuman, and he's constantly teetering this line of wanting to stop like these drugs, but also needing to help save people. So it's like, does he save
mm,
himself or does it save other people? So it's a great storyline of that push and pull, push and pull. I'm a big fantasy reader, so like the Joe Abercrombie First Law trilogy is outstanding. The Stormlight Archive by
mm,
Brandon Sanderson. If you're a fantasy fan, you got to read that. It's like top tier fantasy. Obviously, The Lord of the Rings. Being a Christian and a fantasy fan, you got to throw The Lord of the Rings in there. The Last Ronin is a great graphic novel series. The Walking Dead first two compendiums when they first released were outstanding. Any comic book run by Scott Snyder, his Batman run is absolutely outstanding. So there's a good
mm.
mix in there for you. If you're looking for manga, highly recommend just reading Kimetsu no Yaiba or maybe not Berserk, but Kimetsu no Yaiba for sure. So there's a little bit of every genre in there for you: regular, traditional fantasy, to graphic novels to manga. Those are my recommendations there for you.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. If to so much. Thank you very much for bringing on the golden pen. Thank you very much for putting on the discipline to become an author of authority.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'd love to do this again someday. Just sit and talk books. And I'm losing you a little bit. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah. Nick Garcia, I got you. Go on.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit, so I didn't want to like cut you off. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, it was an absolute pleasure coming on and just talking about myself, talking about our shared love for books and stuff like that. I would love to come back on whenever you want me to just chop it up and talk about stuff.
amazing uh, to celebrate World Book Day. Like I told you, our podcast is designed to help inspire and make a committed reader out of every global person. And we are having a vision of making young people have access and not just having access to books, to also ignite the reading passion through your office and authority as an author. So we have Zoom meeting, we have webinars, and right now, though we have suspended our Global Readers campaign tour, we are looking forward to starting the vision again. And I'm very sure that you have an opportunity to meet and also take our young people, our young readers by the hand. Thank you very much for Ivy. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure, and may God bless you in your endeavors. And guys, if you're out there reading books, man, it's the best thing you can do for your brain. So take that part seriously.
Amazing. But before you go, I'd like you to give your last words to who's yet to read a book, someone finish for themselves, for someone who is always with.
Sure,
What would last words for the dissatisfied, the downtrodden? Give us the last
sure.
words.
So in terms of someone who's unsure if they're going to take their leap, or they're hesitant on taking their leap and pursuing something that they really feel like they should be pursuing, your work, your passion, your writing, your drawing, your illustrating, your painting, it could save somebody's life. There are people's lives at the other side of your work. And it's like, not to sound like a jerk, but I'm going to just say it, man. I'm just going to just say it. There's a little bit of selfishness when you are hiding behind your fear of releasing your work or stepping into your calling, because there's somebody else's
Hmm.
life at the end of it all. You could save somebody, but you're not, because you're so afraid of what you want to do.
Yeah.
And to those who are not reading in at all, if you're not reading a book, whether it's a self-help book, the Bible, fantasy books, comic books, there are countless millionaires and billionaires in New York, where I live, in Manhattan. I live on Long Island, so I'm not a part of this statistic. This is just for Metro New York, biggest city in the world. 1 in 25 people are millionaires, USD, in New York. And if you were to ask every single one of them if they to read books, every single one of them would say yes. If you want to be a billionaire or a millionaire, you got to do what billionaires and millionaires do. And they're constantly reading, they're constantly learning, they're never the smartest person in the room. And if you want to become better, you have to do what they do. So
Hmm.
if you're not reading anything, you are holding yourself back.
Wow. 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 Also, Nick Garcia, thank you very much for sharing
Thank you.
with our audience. I am personally humbled. I'm very humbled. I'm very, very humbled. I feel your advice is free. If I have to, well, if I have a need to become a millionaire, a billionaire, I have to be willing and ready to do what they do. And just like you've confirmed it, that every one person on that list is an avid analytical reader. Thank you very much for revealing this system and secrets on the show. We are so humbled. We are so humbled.
Thank you for having me, and I hope that helps at least one person, man. If that helped somebody, share this podcast with somebody else, because that's going to help them too. So if you felt like what I just shared with you helped you, share this with somebody else.
Amazing, amazing. Wow. Well, if you're going to be streaming this, we've been on to also Nick Garcia. And so Nick Garcia will pass for a youth pastor, a minister, a lover of God, a husband, a poet, and a very nice, top of creative artist. And trust me that he has a depth and insight that you would love to
Are you there?
flaw. And I'm very sure, like you said, that you should share with your friend. One student, one or top mantra, the global reader circle, the ultimate guide